All right, it is 7 o'clock. I'll call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think Joel's grabbed another chair for you, Dave. Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion made by Ryan, seconded by Chris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next, is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes from April 9, our last meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
Second.
Motion made by Kyle, seconded by Chris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, I don't believe we have a commissioner, sheriff. Jeff, we'll go right to Public Works.
I was hoping maybe there was a commissioner. I think they were supposed to let out bids for the tar on Main Street on Tuesday, but I haven't heard who got the bid, so
Oh, yeah.
I'll maybe call there tomorrow.
Okay.
Since the last time we met, pool is cleaned and filled. New floor is scheduled to go in the pool house on Monday. We had more cracks in the pool cleaning it, so we'll be working with that company. I would like to get something done yet this fall, but we'll see if we can get on their schedule and what the funds come to. The last quote on the new pool liner, I think, was $115. So, but it's gonna have to be addressed soon. Rest of the parks are open. Lagoons, they'll be discharged again next week for the second time this spring. We had city cleanup on Saturday. Not too eventful. We thought it would be way busier being as we skipped last year, but it wasn't that big a deal. Been mowing a few times, been spraying weeds already. Next week, Brad will be going to water class for continuing ed on Wednesday. That's all I got. If you got some questions, I'm gonna stick around for the whole meeting. So.
That pool flooring is, what did we end up finalizing going with?
I don't know what we picked. We met with a couple different companies. Do you have that?
I don't know, are we using that product that we kind of looked at?
Yes, it's the rubberized coating.
Okay.
All that sewer line got replaced and water line, so everything's brand new there now.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, but it's recording to a hard drive. It's not amplifying.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I figured, I just, sure.
We looked for several different other comparable products. Nothing allowed the water to filter through, and it was like slip resistant. So this is still the best that we could find.
Okay.
So that should get finished, I would think, next week in a couple days, and then we have to put everything back together in there. But otherwise, the pool, fortunately, with the weather we've had, is warming up. We haven't put any propane to it yet, and it's warming up nicely. So.
Sounds good. Okay, I'm gonna move on to community concerns. Is there anybody here for community concerns? Carl?
I have a little handout here I want to give you guys. So,
Carl, do you want for the paper too?
What?
Do you want for the paper too?
yeah.
Thank you.
So, we were thinking at the bakery, on Mondays Tally Ho is closed, and we're just looking for some more options. And I have a girl at my church that has a mobile coffee cart, and she would like to be able to park in front of the bakery like one Monday a month for the summer months, from like 8 to 11, just another option. She has her mobile food license. She does not need a food handler's license though. So that's just kind of what the cart looks like and what her menu would be.
What time would she be there, kind of
8 to
throughout the whole
11.
day, or just certain?
8 to 11.
8 to 11?
Yep. Kind of the morning rush, so.
Is there paperwork or anything that needs to, or is there anything as far as it,
Carl called us last week here a couple times inquiring about this. This is very similar to a food truck that we've had in town, in the food trucks park on private property. The issue that, you know, the council struggles with, or the community, is that allowing a food truck coffee cart in town when everyone else is paying taxes. So that's the reason we simply state that food truck, coffee cart, whatever, it's gotta be on private property. And that's very similar to other communities as well.
so, like Wildflower, when they come to town and they park on the street? What, did we do something special for them, or how's that work?
If they've done it in the past, you know, there's been an issue on Main Street, where there's an event and the council isn't aware of it, and we've said, can't do that at all anymore, it's gotta be, part of an event. I don't know of any, regular day during the week that they've came up and set up here on Main Street or on public property to sell their goods.
Yeah, no, it was just, I remember them there, it was an event, I don't, like, flea market or something, right there,
Mhm.
something was going on. But I was wondering, is there permits, or we don't do any of that? I mean, there's not really paperwork or anything.
No, it's,
Okay,
they've gotta be on private property, that's what we've said in the past.
Because of the size of this thing, that wouldn't qualify like something like what we do for the farmer's market with just a permit or something like that? Is it,
The farmer's market's one day a week in the afternoon. So that's one. Number two is, this is a slippery slope. I mean, Carl, what if someone said that they wanna sell donuts?
I'm just
And they wanna-
asking a question.
Right, it's that slippery
Okay.
slope.
Is she thinking like June, July, August, Carl?
Yeah,
Okay.
just for the summer months. That's it.
so, wait, what was your question about the farmer's market?
well, my question was just that if it's just the cart itself, I mean, that's it right there, right?
That's it, that's everything.
You know,
Nothing else.
as far as the size, I'm just wondering, because it's not an entire food truck, it's not something like that, it's just a small cart, if that would make a difference or not.
No, so is there something in place already? I mean, or is that new, and farmer's market's been doing it on the sidewalk for how long? Where's our guidance on this? I mean,
The farmer's market is generally Wednesday afternoon, correct?
Wednesday evening, afternoon, night, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And they do sell prepared foods as well, so just let you know that there is a comparable. This would be something in the morning.
yeah, but what time of day does, what?
Chris, are you asking if what?
Oh, no, I'm just asking why it's okay for the farmer's market to do it? And it's not okay for, just clarification on where, do we have a guidance? Is there any false?
That's what I'm wondering, because like each person who comes to the farmer market, they pay a yearly permit,
Yep.
and then they set up their table 1
Okay,
week a
so
month.
there is a process, okay.
So wouldn't that be similar to this, if they paid whatever, I don't think it's even like a $25 permit for the whole summer, or whatever it is, but, and then they set up their table and they can do that once a week? Just, that wouldn't be able to fall under something like that?
It's up to you. This is fairly unique. There's been other requests, but this is, you know, we've told everyone that this is very similar to a food truck. And you can set up, come to town, but you have to set up on private property, not on public.
Chairman? If I could speak on that matter. Years-
Come to the
years
mic.
ag- Years ago, they had an ordinance passed, and you had to buy a permit to come to town and sell. If you were a siding company that come from Worthington, they had to buy a permit to sell the siding. And I don't know if it should be on the books yet. That's what I was.
Solicitor's permit, you know, door knocking, yes, we still have that.
Okay, yep, so I don't know if that's what, if that fall in the same category, I thought it did, you know, that, people would, you know, just show up in town and start selling stuff, so, I would think there should be, if there, you know, they had to buy, I forget what it wasn't real expensive, but they had to buy a permit to sell something in town here. And as far as the locals, they didn't have to because they were local and contribute to the town the way it was, so.
Any questions, thoughts from the council on this?
Any questions for me?
Is what are the hours of the other bakery in town? Are they open on Mondays?
No. For the bakery?
Nope, they're closed on Mondays.
Right? So I mean, essentially there's, other than the C-store, there's realistically no other place to get
C-store,
commercial coffee.
Edgerton Food Center, Tally Ho. I've talked with C-store and I've talked with the food center, and they're totally on board with this.
Sure.
I talked with Patty, she's like, thinks it's a great idea.
Mhm.
Since I would, if she was open on Monday, I wouldn't even be going down that
Mhm.
road. But I know people like their coffee.
Well, and I've had
That would-
requests from ladies for,
That's why I was asking
Yeah,
the
I
farmer's market side of that,
What?
that would make sense to me.
I know folks are looking for good coffee. There's not good coffee in town from what I understand,
I don't drink it,
so I don't know.
Is there any reason why we would not leave this under one set of rules similar to the farmer's market? I mean, one standard,
Right. Have them require their permit?
I don't know why we wouldn't do that, otherwise it gets convoluted quick.
Yep, I agree.
We could roll it into a meeting here in June, and I'll have those ordinances for you. The solicitor's license, and then the farmer's market.
What you may want to, excuse me, what you may want to do is create a licensing and permitting scheme in your city code, establish that by ordinance. Some cities have a transient merchant license or permit. You can tier it any different way you want. It could be a single day, if you're gonna be here multiple weeks, you can kind of define different categories, and then you can evenly apply it, so if someone's coming to town, they know the rules, we're gonna be here every week. You can establish a fee or a yearly assessment for that. But yeah, that'd probably be the best guidance, is to have something in place so that it's uniformly applied. So someone comes in, they know they're gonna be approved if they meet the requirements. And then they would probably have to give you more information on operation hours, the licensing, insurance. So you could kind of create a structure that would make sure that those things are in place for the city's satisfaction, and also clarity for the individual businesses that are coming to town.
So if they wanted to start in June, is there something we could decide now so that they would know ahead of time?
To create a licensing or permit, you would need to do that by ordinance, so that would require a public hearing, and you need at least 30 days or 20 days public notice before
question is there already something in place for a farmer's market? And then are we asking for something different than what the farmer's market's doing?
We would have to look at the city ordinance specifically for the farmer's market. But
I'm just saying, if there's already something, so we're looking to create something new other than what the farmer's market's already under.
well, this would essentially streamline the farmer's market as well.
We have something unofficial policy, but usually so you could standardize it with an ordinance and permit structure that would apply to you.
It's still up to the council at this point whether to make a decision now or to table this with more information till our June meeting.
In this particular case, do you guys have any problem acting in this particular situation under the farmer's market rules with the idea, with the recommendation to go through and set a standardized set of ordinances moving forward?
I mean, I would have came to you guys sooner, but she was at our church on Easter Sunday. I saw that, I thought, oh, there's no coffee in Edgerton on Mondays because Tally Ho is closed. What a great opportunity to showcase the business, plus, you know, people would still have their coffee on Monday mornings.
Well, in there too, if she only wants to be here during the summer months, I mean, essentially, we're gonna be holding up progress for 25 to 33% of her opportunity here. Do you have any thoughts?
Did you generate a 3-month permit for this lady?
Well, if you wanted to move forward, I would suggest just doing it like the farmer's market. It would be a $25 permit to do it essentially for the summer, because that's, I mean, the farmer market goes longer, but
We can
Yes.
timestamp this permit, correct?
yeah. The only reason I don't hesitate as much is simply the size of it. I mean, it's not like a food truck that's just gonna be parked and take up 4 spaces on the road and block the view of businesses and everything like that.
Basically would sit underneath our canopy, like,
Yeah.
it just, yeah.
That would be my input on that.
Well, in there too, I understand a certain amount of protectionism for our own businesses. They pay taxes, they pay all of that, and then, I mean, I understand that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm looking to you, Christopher, if you have any thoughts on it.
I look at this as potentially this gal does it, likes Edgerton, and wants to put a coffee shop in Edgerton. It is a quality coffee shop.
The other thing I thought long-term was like, when we go to Southwest Christian soccer games, there's nothing ever to eat or drink. Maybe she could come to a few Southwest Christian games and serve coffee and donut holes or something. I mean, just long-term, you know, maybe, I don't know. But
It's a great idea, she would be on private property.
Where's she from?
she's from, Fulda.
Okay. Just curious. Anybody would like to move forward on this? Otherwise, we can move on to maybe discuss it possibly later.
Kirk, when you say move forward, you said you talked about
Make a
the permit
yes.
process to offer this gal an opportunity to purchase a permit for,
To do this through the summer months,
sure,
yes.
yep, just to clarify.
Yeah. Okay, hearing nothing, I'm gonna move on. Thank you, Carl, for bringing that up.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's not a done deal yet, but maybe we can revisit this in June with some other options. And if she still wants to, after we decide that in, I think you said it was June 11.
Yeah.
She would miss
next week.
1 to 2 Mondays, but then if.
So it would just be one Monday a month.
Oh, just
Yeah.
One
month.
Monday a month.
That's
Oh,
correct.
I thought it was once a week.
No, it's one Monday a month.
Okay,
Yep.
That's it.
but, yeah, if something changes, from now until June though, we'll decide that maybe she would come a different Monday in June, still try to make it 3 times or not, but.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Carl. Okay, we're gonna move on to new business. Dutch Festival, permission to apply for a permit to sell liquor during the Dutch Festival event at the city park. Is there someone here for Dutch Festival, or we're just,
I thought someone was gonna show up, but,
I mean, we can still decide it, I just, someone usually showed up, so.
yep.
We usually, the way we've done the past years is we set a date, they can do it from this date to this date through the event. They usually don't do anything Thursday night, do they?
Yeah.
You do Thursday night? I couldn't remember.
Yep. And I think this year they have miniature bowls on Thursday nights, there'll be rodeos 2 nights in a row.
Okay.
But they usually do sell, they have a beer stand in the park on Thursday nights.
So who's asking, the Dutch Festival Committee's asking for a permit to sell liquor, or who's gonna sell the liquor?
Dutch Festival.
Usually we just say they have a 3-day
Thursday, Friday,
permit for that Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
The fire department had to take alcohol training 2 weeks ago, and the whole Dutch Festival committee did as well. So we do that every year as well.
Yeah, have you guys ever done anything other than beer? Somebody else did liquor?
Someone else.
Yeah, okay.
Those dates, the 10th to the 12th. Yes, July 10, 11, and 12 would be the dates on that. Does anybody want to make a motion to allow that permit?
I'll motion to allow that permit.
I'll second.
Okay, motion is made to allow for the Dutch Festival Committee to sell liquor. I'm gonna add those dates, if that's all right, for July 10,
Yes,
11,
Yes.
and 12.
Yep, 100%.
And that was motioned by Kyle, seconded by Ryan.
That's correct.
Correct.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that passes. Also from the Dutch Festival Committee, the parking lot lease. Oops. Do you know what that's regarding, Joel?
I believe it's regarding the burning residence. Property right next to it.
Oh, yeah.
This was set up a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they-
Due to the liability.
Yeah, I remember vaguely about it. Did they do that last year? Okay. That's right. I couldn't remember parking last year.
The first year they were gonna use this parking and then never needed it, and now they've car show.
Okay.
You need a motion to approve that?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the parking lot lease.
I'll second.
Motion made by Ryan, seconded by Chris. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, second thing is a donation that was brought forward. Arthur Sprunk passed away, and I believe Cal is here to talk about that.
Yeah, okay, so Mr. Chairman, I'm here on behalf of my dad and also Terry and Dick Wright are also members of the local American Legion. So a little bit of history. I think maybe when the memorial was set up on Main Street about 20 years ago, there was funds collected to help do that all, and there was, I think it was $20,000 left over, or $22,000, something like that. So there was $20,000 that was put into an annuity, and somehow my dad was named the annuitant, and I'm not sure how that ever happened, but he was named the annuitant. And he told me this a couple of years ago. He was telling me things and said, oh yeah, by the way, here's this stuff, I'm an annuitant on this Bankers Life policy it was, and they were working on surrendering that policy. In fact, the paperwork had all been done and everything, but before my dad died. But the value, it wasn't in the stock market, it was in a Bankers Life, so it was drawing interest, and it was worth $32,383 as of March 19. No, wait, that's the year before. It was a little bit more than that. It was 32,700 and some, I think it was. So, however, the gain on that is taxable, and my dad's going to end up paying the tax on that, or my mom. So, consequently, the number that we decided we would be comfortable giving at this time is $23,500. That leaves a little bit for the local Post 42 to have some operating funds, and also federal income tax and state income tax has to be taken out of that. So, and we really won't know the balance until after next year when my mom does her taxes, what the state tax company, they took, when they sent a check, they withheld 21% of the gain for federal, but they didn't take anything out on state. So that's why we're being a little conservative at this time, I guess, with just the 23.5. A year from now, or about a year from now, there should be more. The balance, whatever is left after the taxes are paid, and then we will probably ask for another resolution to accept some more, the balance, whatever it is. So, Terry and Dick, have I got the facts straight, or you got anything to add to that, or?
Do you need to tell them why we want to change it from the American Legion receiving the benefit to the city receiving the benefit?
Yeah, and as it stands now, if it's listed just as American Legion, that's a pretty broad organization, whereas we would like to get it in the hands of local entity so that it stays here and takes care of the Veterans Memorial on Main Street. So that's what you're referring to, Terry, why we wanted to keep it local.
Well, yeah, just to add to that is because right now the Legion membership is really low. We're struggling to keep going. And if the Legion goes away, and these funds would have went to the Legion, then it goes to the National, which goes to Indianapolis. It goes completely away from the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so this would never, it's not part of the Legion. I want to emphasize that. The Main Street Memorial is not part of the Legion. The Legion started it, but it's not part of the Legion. It's a separate part.
Okay.
So, any other questions or anything like that? Otherwise, I have a check here, and I'm not sure. Go to you, or Joel.
Don't give it to Joel.
We need that amount to roll into the,
It was left blank, yeah.
yes, resolution for that amount here.
Are you guys hoping for some changes on that site? Or do you have some ideas that you want us to update it, or landscaping, or?
No, well, right now, Jeff, we have a memorial fund that's under the Legion. It's not, it's just a memorial fund. And from that, we pay for the electricity now to Ryan Belton, and then we take to the shrubbery if we need to change a flagpole or whatever. We just like to maintain that memorial fund, because now, then if someone wants to put their name on there, they've got a point of contact. They'll have to go to the city, and the city don't have to mess with all of that. And then maybe periodically, from this fund, that the city now is gonna keep, we probably have to put just some money back into that memorial fund, as long as the Legion is still here. If the Legion goes away completely, then that memorial fund will go away as well. Then the city would have to do it. Right now, this memorial fund, which is separate from the Legion general fund, would take care of those incidentals.
Yeah,
Does
so,
that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Yep. So we'll continue to do that as long as we can. I'm the treasurer of the memorial fund, not the Legion fund, but the memorial fund. And I'll just maintain that, and that's why we need to keep, some funds in there for now.
so initially, we had talked about 25,000. I mean, I talked to Doug Eisner about, okay, looking at these numbers, how much taxes we're doing, all that kind of stuff, and he said, well, comfortable to do 25,000. However, we thought it best interest to just take 1,500 right off the bat and put in the memorial fund, so that's why we ended up with 23.5, and that's what the check is for. So at some
Yep.
point, my mom would need a receipt for that, and then shows that there's no goods or services provided for this donation. And so, any other questions? Otherwise,
I just add one other thing to the amount. Okay, the amount was whatever it was to start with, what was left over, that's what your father was operating on all these years, is what was left in that memorial fund, except for what he put in there, in the other fund. Okay.
our thanks.
Are there any questions from the council on that? If not, is there a motion to accept resolution number 2025-15?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-15 for a donation.
I'll second.
Okay, motion is made by Chris, seconded by Kyle. Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. When I do that, like, can we just write that in, Joel, or do you wanna print that?
Can you just write it in?
I can,
the
yep.
amount,
Yep,
please?
I will do that. Okay, next, Denny Bleinberg and Dave Bronze are here to discuss the Edgebrook parking lot and that public road access.
Thank you for your time. Yeah, to get you familiar, I don't know, do they know anything about the road or the street at all?
You know what, bear with me here for a moment, let me see if I can pull it up.
We have the map, but he'll probably put it on the TV.
There we go.
Can you,
So-
Joel, can you blow it up one time?
I think we need to educate everyone, because I didn't know anything about this. Denny stopped in and he thought we should start discussing this road. Right now, it's kind of a road to nowhere, but that parcel here on the west side there, 0120, that's owned by Edgebrook as well.
Yes.
Sixth Avenue goes north and south, and there's curb and gutter right now. That curb and gutter turns and goes to the west. It goes to the end of by the garage there of Edgebrook.
Here on that's pointing down, that's about where it goes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's about where it
right there.
stops there, yeah, thank you. And
So
There's,
so it all looks like parking lot, but it's hard to
Yes.
see. There is a road that actually
Well-
is below the
So
parking
That's what
area.
we're trying to figure out,
Is
is
that
it a
a
road,
city street?
or, I stopped in there and mentioned it to Barry, and she says, well, that's Edgebrook's property, which is probably true. But I think the city put the curb and gutter in there, and it probably should have been designated a road at some time or another, which probably never happened. So Edgebrook is also going to cement the parking lot to the east of Sixth Avenue there. And that curve might have to change just a little bit, the curve, to get the right elevations and stuff, because we're trying to bring that parking lot flatter instead of, it's pretty sloped right now. So if a wheelchair would get away with.
Tries to avoid right.
You're talking about changing this corner?
No, it's up a little higher.
Like-
Right at the end of, the north and south, Sixth Avenue there.
Further
or
right,
east- Yeah,
further
north and
right.
south.
Like up here?
Right there, there's a curve right there.
Oh,
You
like,
can't
yeah,
really see
okay,
it.
right here.
Yeah, there's a round radius curve there.
Yeah.
And, so anyway, yeah, we really don't wanna dig into that street at all if it's not really ours. And, or have to get permission from the city to change that curve a little bit. So, or change the elevation. And then, so I don't know if that street has to eventually be designated a street, or I don't know the legality of how to do this, and, and it doesn't have to be done, well, the curb has to be probably something done, because we're gonna have it, done in August, the cement work, so,
Yeah, so
something to think
basic-
about before then.
Yeah, so basically from Sixth Avenue east to the building, we're gonna do solid concrete.
Yeah,
And we're gonna level that off to get away from the slope. It's quite obvious everything west of Sixth Street is in poor shape. And, we don't know yet if we're gonna replace that with asphalt. It's a fairly sizable piece of real estate there, so it'd get, fairly expensive to concrete that all out. So our question is, you know, is there a street there? I've been told that there's also an alley behind those first three homes, and I don't know if that's true or not. You got Baslink's house there, and then you got, the one that Howard, Yeah.
Brands right now.
yeah.
Smash Lake and
Yeah.
Cheddar and,
So is there really an alley behind those homes? And if there is, you know, is there a street right next to the alley? And when we get time to refurbish everything west of Sixth Avenue, is the city gonna redo the street? Or are they gonna vacate it? Or what's gonna happen? Because eventually, probably not Denny and I, probably not in our lifetime, but we do have those 4.5 acres to the west there that we could develop. And so we don't know if we need to put a street in at that point in time or what's gonna happen.
Yeah, whether it is a street or not, or whether you just wanna call that access to that new area at some point, but,
Right.
yeah.
at one time, I think, am I correct, Jeff, the city used to plow that area. You know, they'd come right around that curve, plow right up to that garage, turn around.
We plowed it and we seal coated it. I put a couple truckloads of tar in there until we found out that it wasn't ours. So we used to plow all the way back there, and then we found out that it wasn't ours. Now,
But yet there's a curb there.
Yeah.
Somebody put a curb in.
And I don't think Edgebrook put the curb in there. There would be no reason to put a curb in the middle of a parking lot if
Right.
they, but
So we're just,
it is difficult when Hulkings cleans out that parking lot, cause it's got a crown. So it's
Right.
constant getting the tar ripped out of it.
yeah.
And we do have an alley back there, cause we have sewer and water back there.
So there is an alley on the backside of those properties.
Behind those three houses you're talking about?
Yep. We have a sewer main and water.
but that shouldn't affect anything that we're
No.
doing here. so.
Right.
But anyway, just something, I'd just like to know what you think we should do with that.
Yeah, 'cause
When you say you're gonna concrete it, you're still talking about, you're gonna do everything from
Yes.
here all the way to
No,
here?
no, just to six.
Up to.
Just from here to here?
Right.
Yep,
And yeah, it's hard to see, I looked on my phone map, there, you can see it a lot better if you look
right
at
where
like
that
your Google
green or
Maps.
blue line there is a
There-
curve there.
It's a lot easier to see it on your phone or something
It's a flat
else.
curve, you know, it's not.
Yep.
It's just a chunk of cement about a foot and a half wide.
So, yeah, we are gonna tear out the existing parking lot. And so we're kinda curious as to what we can and can't do on the intersection.
The original plat would probably indicate whether there was original street there or not. At some point, the city may have vacated a portion of that street where it curves, that may be why there is that curve there. But those would be recorded, so you would be able to determine if the city owns a portion or
Yeah.
all of that by looking at the plat and then.
See,
reviewing the
I drive
property
over it
records to
every
see
time we
if
go
there's
there with the
ever
ambulance
vacated
too, it's just a,
That would be the determining factor.
it's kinda, you go from the road like that, it's just a,
Yeah, it's ugly.
So, I don't know what else.
We don't need a
more of that.
decision tonight, but we do have this scheduled to be done
yep,
towards the end of the
August.
summer. And so,
Thanks, guys.
at some point in time, in the next 60 to 90 days, we're tearing
I-
it apart.
I think, yeah, we'll start looking into that as well, and we should have an answer for you
Yeah,
by next meeting.
Matt said
Shouldn't be
here,
too
I mean,
bad.
we could look up the plat to find out what the status was of that dirt.
I don't know if there's any place on record when that curb was put in, neither, you know, it'd be nice to, I had thought about talking to, Bill Vanderby or somebody like that, or Harlan Lake, I think, was the one that put all the curb and gutter back in. Probably in the late seventies, early eighties probably, so it's been there for a long time.
Is there any
I
reason,
don't know if that would help anything at all.
is there any reason for the city to have a street in there? I mean, why would we not vacate that when Edgebrook has all that property?
The only reason that we would want to know is if there was any utilities for sure.
No, I'm saying we
there.
still need to know.
Yeah.
We still need, you still have to have the legal stance on that, yes. But even if the city does own the street, is there any reason why we would not vacate that? I mean, I see little reason for the city to own that.
And if it would just be that, it depends how far up we own on that street, you just vacate it
Yeah,
down.
really not a public access to anything.
That's
Because
correct.
It doesn't tie into the new.
Right, you basically, the city needs to hold to the alley.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's a problem we really don't need.
So, Matt, the process of vacating here, generally, if there's a road that's vacated by the community, that road is cut in half. Is that correct?
So the owners of each adjoining side would obtain half of the roadway there.
So we really need to look at that plat to see how it's organized. You know, if it is a road, or you vacate it, you know, where does that dirt go? To the adjoining homes, or does it go to Edgebrook?
Yes, but to that end, I mean, you're really arguing about nothing here, because if you have an alley and you vacate it, the way it appears on this map, Edgebrook owns the property on both sides of it. The way it appears here, which obviously you need clarification.
But actually, we do need a road here because there's a lot of cars, you know.
That's your problem.
Well, not necessarily. We all need roads in the town here.
Well, I don't disagree with you, but it's private access.
Well, there's a lot of road, every road is a private access then.
Not really, no.
Yeah, it is, I mean, the old residence, this is all private property at one time, every road, and you had to get to them. You know, there's a lot of visitors come to that apartments there, then it's not a private road anymore. It's, you know, it's a road that's gotta have access to those apartments. There's garages, 2 garages there in the back that hold, what is it, 12 cars.
Yeah.
And there's, I don't know how many apartments, there's 10 and 22 apartments back there. So any other service road would have less than that. That was a block long. Just take example for Trosky Road is similar to this. There's only probably 6 houses on that road. There's 2 blocks long.
We're just here looking for some clarification.
Yep, no, we're gonna look into that. And
What we could legally tear apart, what we can.
Yep, and we'll figure that out.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, gentlemen.
If there's any questions, yeah, you can call one of us, you know.
Yep.
Call me.
Call her.
Okay, so what do we need for action on that? We need,
Nothing that we really need to
Clarification.
decide, we just need to look into it, especially looking at the plats and who owns what, especially when things were changed and.
Yep. I got.
And then from there, we'll move forward if we need to make a decision next month. If we need to change anything, vacate something, talk about it more. My best guess is they already own the part that they wanna change.
That's correct.
That curve, so.
yes, that is correct.
They're just doing
Yes.
their due diligence. of
And Sixth
making
Avenue
sure.
West there provides them access and the necessary street that they need. And beyond that, it's private property.
Yeah. Which, they can still call that a road if they want. on their
Yes, yes,
own.
but
That can
it's
still
not.
be their own access when they develop
That's
anything
correct.
over there.
That is correct, yes.
I'm gonna move on. Matt Gross is with us tonight. He's had a little input for us a couple times already, trying to butt in, so. Go ahead and introduce yourself officially. And
Sure, Mayor and Council, happy to meet you. Nice to be here. Thank you for hiring me. It's a privilege to serve as your city attorney. I've worked with Joel and Mary this year and sometimes in some portions of last year, so they do an excellent job with the city. I'm an attorney at Corson Doringham Law Firm in Marshall. My primary practice is representing cities. I represent several cities in southwest Minnesota. I have years of experience that, so likely if you have a legal issue or a matter involving the various matters of the city, I've dealt with it and I can access it and give you legal advice. Glad to be here. I can attend meetings as much or as little as you want me here. I'm at your discretion, so feel free to use me as much or little as you need. I always advise cities, before you do something, if you have a question, make sure you get some legal advice, because after the fact, you can't change it, or it's very difficult, more expensive to do so. So use me as little or as much as you wish. Other than that, feel free to ask me any questions. I'm privileged to be here and look forward to working with you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Maize and blue, really?
Yes,
Oh.
yes. Saw the gentleman in the Nebraska stuff, so
Oh, man.
I held my tongue, but
All right.
don't hold it against me.
Strike one.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yeah, glad to be working with you. Look forward to it too, so.
I left my card at your table, so feel free to email.
Yep.
Call my office if you have any questions.
Do we need to back up to,
Yes, Kyle just pointed that out, that I passed over our building permit unintentionally. Hoffmeyer Garage Building Permit. That is in your files there. And it does show where they want that to be, as well as the 2 buildings in red that will be removed. Oops.
What
what is the nature of this building? It's a
Garage.
garage?
Yep.
What are we building for 17,000?
Idle shed.
24 by 30 garage.
Any questions, comments?
Is that a red iron?
What was that?
Is that I'm curious, and this might not be pertinent, but I'm just curious what we're gonna get for 17,000.
That's up to them and what they want.
I need to teach me your ways.
What's the small building, the smaller one that's getting removed, is that just a lawn shed? Yeah.
This will become alley access then? Okay.
Is there say Jeff just stepped out, just nothing really that a problem for this, the two property lines on the pictures that we have, is that easement there?
Beside us?
Yeah,
Yes.
that is easement?
There's a 10-foot easement between us and Randy Rosking.
Okay. Just wondering why the properties were connected there. Just curious. Is there a motion from anyone to accept that building permit?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to accept that building permit.
I'll second.
Motion is made by Chris, seconded by Kyle. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, building permit passes. Thank you. Let's see, okay, then I can skip back up to the next thing, insurance waiver.
This insurance waiver is part of our insurance that's renewed every year. For some unknown reason, years ago, we waived the,
Statutory tort limits.
Okay. Anyways, this year I started to ask why are we doing this here? And come to find out here that it's actually silly. It's costing us more to waive this. We actually are paying $300 additional premium by doing this as well. So this is the first year that we will, it's logical why we do this moving forward. And then also in your folder, you have some feedback here from that as well.
Is there any reason why we wouldn't do it like this?
Yeah. There's really not, most cities not waive the statutory limit. The limit is $1.5 million for any claims that you would be liable for. If you waive it, then you don't have that limit, so then you need the additional insurance to cover anything in excess of that. The only reason you would waive it is if you wanted to assist people in their damages claim to recoup more from the city. That would be the only reason you would do that.
We wouldn't want to do that.
No, you wouldn't. So I would say do not waive it, but that's obviously a policy decision of the council.
And this does need a motion and a vote.
Please.
So we need a motion to waive.
We need a motion to waive.
Correct.
Do not waive,
Excuse me,
sorry.
To not.
Waive the statutory
Yep.
Got it. Gotta make sure you get the word right.
This one will have to be changed then. Right?
Oh, this is,
That's why I got confused.
you're correct. You know what, I could just get some white out here.
Yep, I just want to make sure that the right
A
box was checked.
motion,
before I
a
said-
motion to not waive, technically.
Yep. I know it's confusing.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna write it down, so if I make the motion, I say it right.
Sorry, did you make a motion or you were just
No,
asking?
no, I wanted clarity to make sure if I do make the motion, I make it correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, so I will make a motion to not waive the insurance,
The limits.
correct? Is that proper?
Statutory tort limit, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I'll second Ryan's motion.
When Mary puts together the minutes, she'll put in there, and then you'll have to check that to make sure that it says. Did you second?
I second Ryan's motion.
Okay, motion is
Yes.
made by Ryan, seconded by Kyle. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Joel, can I hand this to you? I did sign that and I put that number in there.
Okay, great.
Just wanna make sure that stays secure somewhere. All right, then we're back to you, Riley, and continued business for capital improvement plan. Thanks for coming again.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a little update again for the project. We met this morning here with the contractor and with USDA reps and went through the progress so far. I think it'll be our last progress meeting considering the status of things. We're getting really close to having it wrapped up and being able to call it complete and go through the final contract documents and things like that. So main things that need to be done yet are some topsoiling along Second Avenue, seeding work, pavement markings. They got to mark the parking stalls, and then just some various punch list things, little fixes here and there, some landscaping rock out front of here, for instance, that needs to be cleaned up a little bit along the edge of the sidewalk. So punch list work. They got Second Avenue paved this week, so that added block is substantially complete now. Holstein thinks that they're going to, get all the remaining work done over the next, 2 to 3 weeks. They're hoping by the time, June 1st rolls around, they're done, if, close to done, if not done with everything at that point. So, really the main thing that's remaining, the biggest item of work is the seeding work. Hopefully they can address some areas that were seeded previously and haven't seen a lot of growth yet, but we can hopefully get
It's gonna be a tough year for that starting out.
Yeah, we could use some more timely rains for sure. Hopefully the dry weather pattern doesn't continue over the next few weeks as we try to get some get the neighborhood to green up, as we get to the end here, so.
I've noticed that there's several residents who have taken upon themselves to kind of do their own yards, and that's fine, I mean.
Absolutely, yep.
I mean.
So, what we hope for is that
As long
all the
as
residents.
we don't wreck anything that they've now worked to make better by themselves.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, no problem with that. That's, we see that quite a bit on these projects. Some people just want to make it their own way and maybe redo it a little bit and reseed it themselves, and by all means, that's great for, for us, that makes it easier.
Yeah.
Take it into their own hands a little bit, so we hope that people will do that to some extent, or at least water the grass seed, you know, and put some effort into that to help it, get it to grow, get it established, so we don't end up with just, you know, too many bare spots and boulevards and weeds and things like that, so. The contractor can do so much, and we'll push them to, you know, do as much as they can, but when it comes to the end of the project and seeding, it just goes so much smoother if the property owners can, you know, put a little bit of effort into it too. So I think we've talked about, you know, doing some type of mailer or letter or informer to residents, and just making sure that they know that, yeah, your boulevards have been seeded.
Would be nice.
Please water and things like that, so. For the meeting this evening, there's a couple documents that are ready for city approval. Those would be a change order number 4. Change order number 3 was the one that added that extra block of work since there was leftover project funds. Construction was under, you know, trending under budget. The engineering, the interest, legal fees, and multiple different things were kind of trending under budget, so that's why that change order 3 happened, add a block of work. Just change order 4, what it does is it balances out as-built quantities. So we had a bunch of line items with estimates, and now this change order will take those and balance them out. Maybe we estimated 2,000 tons for an asphalt item, and it only took 1,900. Well, now we go in there and we subtract 100 out of the contract and bring it back to what it was actually needed. By the time you do all that, it reduces the contract price by about $254,000, which was a big chunk of what allowed that extra block to be constructed. Once it's truly done, you know, the rest of the work we'll follow up with a change order number 5 that's going to do a similar thing for a few more items. It'll balance them out, but it'll be a much smaller dollar amount for that one. So there's really nothing to that change order other than balancing quantities. It's not adding anything to the project. It's actually reducing the total. The second documents just changed, or pay request number 9, I think it's number 9.
Yep.
To Holstein for the work they've completed through May 2nd. I think might have been the cutoff date, so.
May 6th.
May 6th.
Or, no, you're right, the 2nd, sorry.
Okay, May 2nd, so, presumably all goes as planned, they'll get the rest of the work done, and there'll be one more final payment to them. Maybe next month at your June meeting, so. Miss anything else significant we talked about, Joel?
Let's see here, final punch list, regrading, grass, stripes here need to be done in the next 2 to 3 weeks, that was discussed today. Monday.
And Holsteins do that, or do we do that? Company that comes to do it?
Of a subcontractor.
And they do like especially like the church areas and any other parking areas that we have like that.
Yeah, they'll mark out all the stalls and the no parking areas between the handicap stalls and things like that, so. they'll do that next week. They'll be looking to get going on the seating next week. I think they'll open, Second Avenue is still closed off right now. I imagine they'll open that tomorrow. Allow vehicles to drive through there.
Today we had, our loan officer from USDA in, regarding where USDA is, moving forward. Everything is just so fluid. For instance here, our non-qualified expenses here, we use a program called Community Facilities with USDA. There's discussion about, really if that program will continue into the future. That's problematic for smaller communities like us because the alternative is you have to go to the market and do a bond. That's pretty dang expensive. So that's pretty fluid. Other stuff here regarding phase 1 to discuss. Talk to anyone that's been through some of these projects. The pain in the butts are, it's grass and trees. How to handle that moving forward. On the agenda here, the green bonus, again, it's something for the council to decide moving forward. We really want to entice everyone to start watering their boulevard, so we don't have weeds for the next 2 or 3 years. So it's something that we could provide as a credit moving forward. Once the grass is really taken hold here, we can have a list that the council approves each month, and it could be a $100 credit that everyone along the project is given. It's up to you, 50.
Like a credit, you would take it off their water bill because they're watering.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So that's one idea. 2, just start discussing the whole trees. By others here, we're told that it's best if we let the ground settle here for a couple of years. That's what I've heard multiple times before we really move forward and plant trees. And then we've got to organize a plan. What trees and where, and who's gonna decide where they all go and all that. So I will tell you that, my house in Sioux Falls, we had 4 trees taken out. We're planting new trees. It's a 50-50 partnership. The city comes out, dictates where they go, and then they've got a list of trees that you could put there. I don't know. I'm sure they frown upon putting, something that's not on their list in that location. But, the list that they gave you, it's pretty big, there's 30, 40 trees there on that list. And for us, we were looking for something that grows straight up and it's relatively shallow. It's in the boulevard that will not push up the sidewalk or anything like that.
Does the city of Sioux Falls contract with a consultant on that, or do they have that in-house, or how do they do that?
In-house. Arborist, I recently learned they live down the road from me.
Okay, because, I know that there's arborists out there, and I know that you can get a tree to do anything you want to. You just gotta find the right one. And so that's why I was curious how they have that organized.
I learned all this through our association in our housing development. And again, it's a 50-50. The trees, $200 for a 2-inch trunk starter here, and they really want all the homeowners to have skin in the game, so you take care of it and water it on a regular basis. But again, here, it has to go on the boulevard. If the city's going to participate in a 50-50, if you want something on your own dirt, you've got to pay the full $200.
A big reason why we want to talk about trees too is across the street here, somebody planted one already. I guess for our aspect at Public Works, that tree got planted not knowing where the curb stop was, not knowing where the sewer was, and we ran into that taking a lot of these trees out, that the curb stops were sometimes under the tree,
Now, I'm hoping sewer-wise, being it's plastic pipe now, not everybody chose to replace, so we gotta kinda remember that as well. As far as roots and stuff, but I was told, I checked with 2 other towns who've gone through stuff like this, and they recommended waiting 2 years before you planted a tree. Just, we had all them boulevards dug up, the soils have changed, and that's kinda why, I mean, some of these are popping up already, and we really don't want them on curb stops. And I think we have to, some of these boulevards are narrow, what we put back in there, we put in new sidewalk and curb and people got driveways. We really don't want that for the next guy to be pushing them up, that kinda defeats the purpose, so that's kinda why we started talking about it.
One question, Riley, going back to that change order, does that need a motion or?
Yeah, that, I would say that should have a council action. It's a change to the contract with Holstein, so.
I just wanna jump back to that and make sure we're not missing that, so. Are there any questions about that change order, going back to that? I know we talked about some other stuff here now. And if not, is there a motion to accept the new, or accept change order number 4?
I'll motion to accept change order number 4.
I'll certainly second that.
Okay, motion is made by Kyle, seconded by Ryan. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Beyond that, are there any other questions, concerns for Riley, Joel, or from you guys? Anything else?
I guess I don't have much else to add. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have, but I think we're getting down to the end, and there's, not a lot left to get done, but it'd be important that we get things wrapped up in a timely manner and get things closed out, so.
Jeff, I know you had said the county maybe accepted a bid on, what was it, a couple days ago maybe? Tuesday.
Supposed to open bids on Tuesday.
And you don't have anything to do with that, right, Riley? I mean, Holsteins, they don't,
With the counties?
with that county part, like from the
No.
intersection of Fourth to, or
Right, that'll
not
be-
Fourth, Mill to Howard.
Correct.
That's
Yeah.
all county.
That'll be just a county, part of the county's project.
It's getting rough in that one intersection.
Yeah, I think they're gonna, just driving through there today, I imagine they're gonna have a little bit of repair work to do.
For the base,
before they put
for the base set, yeah.
on the base, before they put the overlay on it, so, and that manhole will need to be raised up, in the street there. things like
I don't
that,
know
so.
if you did, it looks like somebody filled in gravel in a couple
I
spots.
ran out of bag tar.
Okay.
I have more now, but we put in some crushed concrete in one corner because I couldn't keep a bottom in it.
Well, that's what I said, some of it's getting bad, cause that base is completely gone too, so.
I think some communication with the county and taking a look at that before they get their crews out there ready to overlay it would be beneficial. Make sure that.
Cause there's a couple spots where you look at it, and yeah, you can see where it's sunk to in a couple spots, so.
Yeah.
Get it done right the first time, so they don't have to come and patch a bunch of squares in there again.
Absolutely.
How, as far as like your green bonus and so forth and your trees, how do we even go about organizing that or something like that?
I could, have, something organized for you, next month here, how this would work. This is just an idea, but I'm telling you that, anyone that goes through a project like this, the grass and trees are a big issue. So let me organize something, for next month, a process, and then in terms of the trees here, we can, start organizing what that looks like here in the future. It could be, a working document.
Dina, maybe you could make a note of that, to have something like that in the paper, that we would maybe discourage residents from putting trees in the boulevards at this time?
Till you get an
Till-
plan.
Yeah, till we know.
One question that comes up, if you're not gonna talk about it for another month and they're planting seed before June 1st, would this green project timeline really add up?
They are planning to be in next week to do some of the seeding work, so ideally,
You need to be watering by next.
people are gonna be watering, yeah, hopefully next week, or the following week and beyond.
So I mean, if
So,
you're gonna have a
the-
plan for watering, a month from now would be a little too late.
Yeah. Yes, ideally they would need to wait till mid-June to start watering, so,
I mean, we could encourage with the idea that we're looking into possibly a credit of some sort.
Well,
I mean, it's
realistically-
not a for sure thing, but I mean,
Guys, it's
I'm
gonna
just-
rain tonight, 3 days next week.
I hope you're
Let's
right.
hope that happens.
I hope you're right. But realistically, you can break that into two pieces. I mean, there's no reason why the greening, the watering part, that's pretty cut and dried. I mean, pardon the pun.
No pun.
I don't think that's the part that really needs the organization. It's your trees and your arborists that you gotta kinda get the plan together, and there too, you foot the bill for part of it, and all of a sudden you have a little more say-so in it.
well, and that's why I just asked, like, can we make some comment of, you know, it'd be nice to hold off on trees until we get,
Hold off on trees, but.
till we get some kind of city plan to help everybody pick trees, location, all that logistics.
But earlier he said it was okay to seed, so it's okay to seed but not plant trees.
Yeah,
they'll seed as part of the project, the contractor will do the seeding, yeah.
Or if
So-
they wanna do their own, yeah, they can do their own seeding too, but
Yeah.
trees would be nice to wait.
What we've typically done is sent out a letter to residents when the seeding happens and just inform them, so make sure they're aware the seed is put down, you're encouraged to water it. Help, if you want a nice lawn, it really takes some work on your part, and it's just a pretty simple letter that just basically, you sum it up, says, we could, it's not, in my experience, it's not that common to have like a rebate or some type of discount for watering the grass. But I like the idea. Anything that makes it easier to, better to get people to help get their grass to grow. I like that idea. If there was something, we could put it into that letter, or at least make mention of it. And we could also, as part of that, notify people that trees, please, the city's, like you said, the city is developing a plan for trees, replanting. Just ask that you don't replant trees in your boulevard yet, until, more information before it comes. Just a question of whether or not you want to implement something, the green bonus that is on the agenda. And then when it comes to the tree plan, we can work with Joel too. We work in a lot of different communities, and not every some communities don't have a plan to put trees back. They just leave it up to the owners. But a lot of, maybe that's half the small towns. The other half do some sort of plan, and they all structure them different. But we could provide some thoughts on, or at least some information on, hey, this is what this community did, this is what that community did. Rebates, vouchers, things like that. But
Couple of things here just to be mindful of here. This afternoon when we're talking about that green bonus, the boulevard, and the whole grass issue, the contractor engineer have said that even if you incentivize, people to do this, fraction of the people will actually take advantage of it. So we're just trying to help those that have a desire, that pride, they just don't want, dandelions all over, other weeds. So, anyway, I don't know how many of our, what's our total running properties? 100 and,
It's over 100, yeah, 120 maybe. Some
yeah, I don't know how many people actually take advantage of it, but.
Do they have to come to you and ask for the bonus?
Yes, I think, one of us would probably just drive by the property and make sure that, you know, the grass has taken and it's, you know, really up and growing solid green. We're not gonna pay for, you know, dirt and grass is just starting to grow. It's gotta be,
You also can tell by the water meter readings.
there we go.
You're pretty steady all the time, your increase. I mean, you're gonna know if it's green, obviously, but if someone comes in and wants the $100 off their water bill and they got dead grass in front, kind of, you know. And it will happen, I'm just telling you.
Yep. Another reason here that it takes more time to plant for the trees is that we simply don't have the budget right now. I mean, this is gonna be a year in advance.
ChatGPT says you should wait at least 12 months
Okay,
for new construction.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that you talked a little bit too before, and they
What's
said
that?
wait a
Hasn't
year or
even
two
rained
to
since
do
He
it.
said we've done it before where we plan it right away. And he says if the homeowner doesn't have any skin in the game, they're dead, and you're gonna get a call, and then you're gonna wanna do it. And he recommended putting water bags on them if we had to water them all. That's another $35 a tree. But he said, I would really highly recommend if you decide as a city to do it yourself, to put those bags on, slowly increases more. He did give me some lists, and I talked with Pipestone, I got their nursery that they go through. Some towns buy bare root ones and get them cheaper in the spring, they go get them and plant them themselves. Some use a local guy to put them in, and there's a lot of different options.
Your success rate will be the highest with bare root.
I just think by next spring, we should have something, I mean, we gotta have some trees back.
Well, that's just it. I mean, it looks like a tornado went through.
Can't
It
blow
just,
out
it just,
trees.
the town lost a lot of aesthetics.
And we're gonna lose more with the ash borer here.
That's correct, and that's the reality.
And with the next phases,
What's that?
the
Yeah.
next phases.
Yep.
Yeah, this just accelerated what the ash borer was gonna do anyway. Cause what, 95% of them were ash?
It was a high percentage, yes.
All right, any other discussion points before we move on? Thanks again, Riley, for everything. Okay, let's move on. Small Cities Grant.
I think we're good. Yep. Small cities, let's see here. Everyone got like a flyer, I put it on your table. We've got a public meeting here, May 22nd, that's for residential and commercial. Couple meetings, just to get the ball rolling.
And that's mostly just for those who applied, correct? And
I think because it's been so long since we were awarded this grant, we're gonna have some fallout, so we're always gonna be fishing for people to replace those spots.
Okay.
You know, this program for the residential side, you know, there's income limits. That's, on the residential side. On the commercial side, there are not.
Okay, moving on, Osborne Township, fire contract status. We have a signed fire contract from Osborne Township now. As of, when was that? 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
Something like that. Fire truck support. Just to, to update a little bit, Kyle and I met with some of the Osborne guys And they have, that they handed in that fire contract. The rest of the fire truck support has been pledged to come in soon. Not,
They said after their next meeting, which is
Yeah.
tonight, right?
yep,
If I remember correctly?
not to be dragged out over, what was it, what have we had, like 8 years left or something like that, they would just pay it off.
You would pay the lump sum.
Fantastic.
And is there anything else on that? Otherwise, moving into talking about the cemetery loss application.
Can we just drill down there for a moment here in terms of paying up what's outstanding here?
Yep.
They agreed to pay, the additional $5,000, 5,500, something like that,
54
correct?
something change,
Yes.
yeah.
Is that what Robert wrote the check for?
Because, the total request to Osborne Township was like 25, they said that Edgerton will give you 20, so that was the whole issue, is that $5,000. So based on, the $5,000 that the city requested financial assistance for, now we pivot to talk about the, loss, break even, I don't know, how do you wanna, I don't know, square that up here with Osborne Township Cemetery?
So Kyle and I know a little more about that after meeting with them. Where's that?
Go back up, it's in there.
Osborne's very top.
There it is.
There we go, that's what I keep.
The
So back in
2019.
February of 2019, Daryl Hannenberg, which he had just finished his term because he moved to town, came in to talk to us about $500 that we have been giving the cemetery. Would Mary go back and find since like 2016, 17, something like that?
Alright, it says 2017.
To make that more official, like actually have something in the minutes, before it sounded more like some kind of gentleman's agreement, so we weren't necessarily obligated to pay it versus let's make this official. So the motion was made to pay $500 per year that will accumulate each year for the Osborne Hillside Cemetery. Should the cemetery obtain a loss, the city will pay 33% of the loss. The $500 per year that the city has been paying will go towards the loss first before any additional funds are paid out. And then that was seconded and motion passed. So one of the things that you have, that sideways one,
Yeah.
and then that,
Scroll to the bottom of that guy. That's that breakdown that Ron
Yeah.
gives.
so then they showed us, their losses from 2021 to 2024, minus the 500 that we had been giving them for the 3 of those 4 years, and then the total of what we would owe according to that motion as paying 1/3 of their losses, or 33%. Excuse me. So does everybody understand that?
Well,
Went through that really quick.
I guess I'd like to understand how we accrue, how they get a loss, and then in 2023, a $12,000. So what particularly happened to cause a $12,000 loss?
Was that the year they had to buy some equipment? Kirk?
The equipment, and they removed all
Pulled the trees out?
the
Trees out.
trees.
On the west side?
They didn't really expand, but they kind of expanded to where they can future leads plowed out their next burial areas. As far as a lot of those losses, They had 2 years especially where they just didn't have a lot of people die that were buried there. So that's where their income comes from. There's a, yeah, I make it sound bad, like, I'm sorry, you didn't have enough people die, but.
Business was slow, yes.
And so, yeah, then they had a lower income for cost coverage because per death, they get so much for money for that, and then that covers some of their costs, and then they just had 2 years, I think they were even 2 in a row, where they just had like 50%.
It was
maybe
about-
a little over 50-60% of what they normally have had per year average.
They average 2 a month. I was on that board for 6 or 7 years. I think right now, they figure on 2 a month.
Yeah, and
Business has been better this year, though.
they had a couple of years where they had like 13, 14 for 2 years, so it was 1 a month average or a little over.
And so the other expenses, the upkeep,
They've got, what, a couple of staff?
They said have 2 hired.
That maintain the property, mow the lawn, such. They have a bookkeeper as well, a scheduler,
Yeah.
correct? What's her name, Jeff? She's still there. Gunnick?
Oh, Sheila.
Sheila, thank you. So, employee expense.
So when we had that meeting, I was on council at that time, and I remember, once they said it, like, oh yeah, I remember Daryl coming, I remember discussing that, but up until that point, I had completely forgotten about that. We had been paying them the 500 per year, but as far as losses, I think that got lost in communication somewhere, so.
so right now
I
they
don't think
were,
anybody came after Daryl did. Daryl used to come to every meeting that I was at, once a year.
It's from the burial, what do they call it?
Township.
Yeah, the township part of the burial, or whatever, the members. No, yeah, and whether a bill gets sent or how they do that, I think they're trying to make it easier too, of how because there's 2 separate sides of that. It's Osborne Township, but then it's also Osborne Cemetery
Can I
members.
clarify? So they've never asked for payment since this started in 2019? Is that what we're saying?
Correct.
But they didn't have a loss in 2019 or 2020,
Okay.
so their first loss wasn't until 2021, which a lot of that they probably don't even know until towards the end of 2021. So yeah, 3.5 years.
So also had a loss in 22 and then 23?
And 24.
21 to 24.
And 24, in the year 24 has not been, the 500 that we have been paying them per year was not paid that year yet, so.
So that was calculated into the
Yeah,
ask.
that is calculated because it's left blank.
Yep.
So over those 4 years, since that arrangement went from not having minutes of agreeing to pay 500 a year to agreeing to pay 500, and then after that 500 has been applied to losses, the city would cover 1/3 of those losses after that point. So over those 4 years, that comes to roughly $6,600.
do you remember how they arrived at a third?
That's,
It's in the notes
that's
from
what Ron-
2019, but,
It doesn't say,
that's what Ron came up with.
yeah.
As far-
The 33% was mentioned in the 2019.
And
council.
that part I don't remember,
Yeah.
it was 6 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, I just,
I just remembered the meeting and yes, that we agreed to that.
Yeah, Moosey, why that number?
But why the third, if they ever had a projected loss, they would want more than 500, and then maybe he said, well, we'll do 500, and then if you ever have a loss, we'll cover 1/3 of your losses after that, so. Excuse me. But as far as the 66, what they have on here, 66, 54, and 96 cents. As far as what we did agree to as a city in our minutes as a council, we, in my opinion, yes, are obligated to pay that because we have agreed to do so. And we kind of talked about that too at that meeting of, yeah, we're getting some of that fire truck money, but then we owe this, but it is two different sides and they just want everything to be done right. Like, yes, we're getting some money for the fire truck. Why can't we cancel it out? Well, their books for the cemetery side and the township side are completely separate. They're two different accounts entirely, so. And we talked about that at that meeting, that moving forward, yes, we're gonna, communication will work a little better on that. And as far as losses, getting to know that maybe sooner. You had even mentioned, when they audit their books and stuff like that, just to know what the numbers, not that they're fudging numbers, but just so we know that everything's correct and that we're doing everything for the right amounts.
So everything that they itemized in their analysis, we don't do that on all of ours, right? So moving forward here, we've requested several communities around the area for financial assistance for this fire truck, right? Years in the past. And then moving forward here, the city, the community of Edgerton has been subsidizing everyone's fire protection since the beginning of time. So moving forward here, if, you know, again, council would like to kind of stop that here, this is, if we start looking at a true allocation of fire-related costs, that would be the truck, the insurance. I believe, you know, the labor is, I would need to see if the taxes are all allocated out, but I believe some of the workers' comp is allocated, so it's one of those things that, I don't know, guys, I just don't think it's right that the city is subsidizing everyone's fire protection. But again, Kirk, you brought this up, guys, you met with Osborne Township, and you just would like to stop the whole back and forth and just come together, settle up to where they will cut a check for the financial assistance for the truck, and the city would cut a check for that $66.54, correct? And just have clean slates moving forward. And then over this next year, we'll really clarify exactly how this loss works. The $500 credit that we will be cutting to them each year, will that go towards a loss or not? How does that really work? Because some of those years, their loss, you know, let's say the loss is, let's say $500, they get $500 from the city of Edgerton, well, now they're kind of break even. Well, again, that's where we just need to clarify how this is really gonna work moving forward.
And so I talked with Joel after that and I said, let's figure out, let's settle this right now so that that's all back up to date. And then probably next month, we can go into a little more discussion of, do we want to change that, whatever it was, February minutes from 2019, not change the minutes, maybe adjust the motion to better clarify what that money goes to, and do they have to have that into a savings account, and they don't use it every year for losses, but they have to save it up until they actually have a loss. You know, they don't just use it automatically as breaking even, but, so I think next month we should discuss that a little more and clarify better maybe that motion back from February of 2019.
For the city's protection, probably just, whatever you guys decide, rescind that motion or resolution, and then you really have an agreement with them, because the agreement's gonna be longstanding with the council, but you guys could rescind that now, and just say we're not gonna pay that, because really it goes contract, because both parties technically didn't agree to it.
Yeah.
So you probably wanna formalize an agreement to really detail all obligations of each party.
Put something together and meet with those guys again.
What's that?
Put something together and meet with those two again.
Right.
I mean, there's something more, a little more granular, a little more definitive.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, that's what I was looking for. So yeah, so I asked Mary about that. I don't know exactly what the 2014 and 15, they were a little bit bigger payments. If what that had to do with, I don't remember Daryl talking about that either, but then we, from $500 after that has been every year, so. So even before 2019, there was some communication with someone that, for some reason, we were giving $500. Not a bad thing, for some reason we were doing it. Somebody had said something and the city agreed to it.
It looks like in 2016 or whatever, they tried to clean it up. I mean, 3,600, then 1,900, and then it's 500.
Is that when Jeff was on it? Beer money?
So yeah, even after that, it went for 3 years before we finally had a motion in our minutes that we could find out, oh yeah, that's, okay, now we're doing it officially. But, back to this discussion, is there any other discussion, or does anybody want to make a motion as regards to the 6654? I know, yeah, in our minutes, we've agreed to do this, but just to make it official, we should have a motion if we want to pay that 6654.96.
Yeah, I make a motion, clear up our obligation that we agreed to.
I'll second that, Chris.
Okay, motion made by Chris, seconded by Kyle. Any other discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, next, as far as continued business,
Well, before we move on,
go ahead.
do we want on next month's agenda to proceed with rescinding that motion and getting something more permanent?
We will, yep, that'll be on our agenda of
Okay.
how we wanna do that, yep. And I suggested that to Joel too, let's do this tonight, and then we'll
Yeah, okay.
move on
All
with
right.
that at our next meeting. Excuse me. Lost my spot again. There we go. Tax abatement for the car wash. So did they come back, or did we find something that we're,
So this is, delivering on, how I explained, the tax abatement. So, the county does abatement and they generally abate all taxes. The way, I propose this abatement regarding the car wash is that we would be abating the incremental increase in value, per what the county figures, the projected, value and taxes would be on that property. Best way to explain it?
Yeah.
Okay. And this, our prior resolution did not really explain it, as the incremental, value increase. So this resolution would rescind the prior, and then it also offers the detail about how it would be paid out.
So that's when you go down to that section C of where you have it listed all 10 years, that you'd be doing it the same every year.
Yeah.
Except for the what was the 771 again?
The current,
That's the current, okay,
tax
water.
on that property, because there is a building on it.
Yep. And the four men know about this and they've seen this, or they?
This is me, reviewing it with Matt and clarifying that everything is true and correct.
Okay.
And this came about because I thought there would be a tax abatement contract. Matt said, no, this is more of a resolution that the city approves, and that's the contract that they have with the city.
If the city just needs to authorize that you're not, well, you'll collect the taxes and then you return it to them. And this is just a document that will go to the auditor's office so that they know that.
Okay.
But there doesn't need to be a true contract. It's just the council says, we're abating this, here's what we're doing, here's why, and that's sufficient.
Okay.
So you don't feel like these investors need to be present for this motion?
No.
Okay.
And it's because we are clarifying the verbiage legally for the city.
They're not gaining or losing anything through this process, just making everything.
Right, and I understand that, but you know how that goes in the arena of public opinion. Okay, so you need a motion on that?
Yeah, and if you have that document open, just so it's on the record, make that more clear, read that 2-line bold statement as the motion you're making, that you're making a motion to approve this resolution, but also repealing the other one.
All right, I'll make a motion to make a resolution repealing resolution 2025-13 and granting a property tax abatement for real property located at 111 Mill Street.
I'll second Ryan's motion.
Okay, motion is made by Ryan, seconded by Kyle. Is there any other discussion on that? If not, all those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. That cleaned up. And then while you're there, Joel, you wanna roll right into your report?
Sure. Next council meeting, June 11th. Small Cities Grant. We've got our meeting organized for May 22nd. Finance phase 2 through 7 this last month. I met with at the legislature with the Budget Management Committee with Joe Schumacher to discuss the Edgerton Water and Sewer Project. I knew I had to make an impact, so I worked with Dave Holstein to find a piece of pipe that was corroded to really show him, you know, what's really going on here. And it was a freshwater pipe that was corroded from the inside out. The city's requested $35.5 million. With the conclusion of that meeting, it really finished.
everyone that I know of that I can request money from, in terms of some of the stakeholders here, politics-wise. So just to keep score here, I've requested water and sewer for Klobuchar, Smith, Fishbach. Joe and Bill Weber are aware of the Edgerton bill as well. I don't think there's anything more that I can do regarding at that level until we hear if there's a bonding at all and the city gets anything. Wellhead easement, we're in the process of closing the Spencer project. The state started to close the project, and they're looking at the application and the contract, and they think that the contract and the real property is a little light by 1 or 2 acres, and it's because the area along the creek over there, they call like an exclusion area. So we're really not sure exactly how that's gonna play out. They're requesting a copy of the contract. I just haven't sent it to them. That came in, I think, Monday. Car wash, this is the last of the resolution in terms of compliance regarding that. That'll be wrapping up. Economic development here. You know, last month Wendy's business was listed on the market here. Over this last month, there's probably been 3 or 4 people calling and inquiring about EDA financing. I told them that they need to reach out to their bank as well. The EDA is really there for gap financing. So I've just told everyone to please reach out here once you meet with your bank to see exactly what kind of gap needs to be filled with the EDA funds. So I'm really waiting for a couple of people to actually come back, see if there's gonna be an offer presented. Any other questions?
Thanks, Joel.
Yep.
Receipts and disbursements. Any questions on receipts and disbursements? And if there is none, is there a motion to accept them or approve them?
I make a motion to accept the receipts and disbursements.
I'll second.
Okay, motion from Chris, second by Ryan for receipts and disbursements approval from April 2025. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes. That is all we have for business tonight. I'm going to ask for a motion to move to a closed session, just to briefly discuss an employee option, or employee performance, I should say.